First of all, yes, I worked till very recently, like last month, with Alcatel-Lucent. I've done a lot of innovation. I worked on open innovation with startups, with other industry as well as academia. I worked a lot on corporate venturing, starting up new businesses within the corporation, did a lot of intrapreneurship, etc. I took a sabbatical last month, starting this month actually, doing further work and thinking about these subjects, but also helping my wife starting up her business, doing some entrepreneurship. So let me start. What I want to share with you today is really my story of how I started doing intrapreneurship like 12 years ago in the company Alcatel-Lucent. This will not only be about Alcatel-Lucent, but it will also be about other interesting learnings and wrong assumptions by other companies, because I've been talking a lot with other companies, a lot with other industries, and guess what? They all face the same challenges. And we heard some of that already in the past few days on intrapreneurship. So it's my story, and it all started with the call from the CEO of a subsidiary of that big company. And he said, Thierry, I have a problem. I was like the CTO of that company at the time. So he's like, wow, he calls me and it's a problem. That's an interesting thing. And the problem he had is like, we were going through restructuring, acquisitions and mergers and so on and so forth. And he said, my employee base is demotivated. They don't see where we are going. You need to give me the light at the end of the tunnel. So I said, I had some ideas about entrepreneurship in terms of looking at startups in Silicon Valley and so on and so forth. So I said, I have an idea. So we assembled a team and we ran for it. And I emphasize run, like running, not baby steps. So we run, we stumbled, we fell, we restarted, etc. And that's a bit the story I want to share with you. Okay? So what I'm going to do is give you learnings. Okay? And obviously the first learning is it has to come from the top. If you don't have the top with you, and I mean the very top, the CEO and the executive committee, or whatever you call it, senior management, senior leadership, it has to come from the top. First of all, they have to set the purpose and the vision of the company and put that into context. Because if you want to involve intrapreneurs, they need to know where they have to look for new ideas, new disruptions, and so on and so forth. It doesn't matter if you try to find ideas which are not relevant or way too far from the core business. So setting that is really important, because the entrepreneurs, they need to feel part of that vision, of that purpose. Also, you need to be very, very transparent. It needs to be very clear. Don't come suddenly with a new initiative that nobody knew about. I'm coming back to each of these points in somewhat further. But also make sure that people know that they can try something, that they can risk something, and that when you're in a risky environment, sometimes you can fail. So accepting failure. Failure must be an option. Also, obviously, it's not something you do, let's say, in between two courses of a lunch or a dinner. You have to have people that are really allocated full time on this. And then finally, remember, if you do something and you succeed, then success can be different for different people. Because typically in a big corporation, what is success? Revenues, top line, and bottom line, profit. But if you measure that in that way, a new business, you won't get there. Because typically, they don't have either the revenue or the profit immediately. So a number of points, drive from the top. I will come back to most of these as we go. Now, I said failure, accepting failure. So I will also be probably one of the first to give you a couple of slides with my wrongs, right? I tried and I failed. Actually, I took assumptions which you will tell me afterwards, like, that's the right assumption. But when we did it, actually it showed us being, no, it was not a good assumption. So I call these my wrong, and I see as number one, so I have a couple of those as well. So what I did is how to pick these venture guys, right? And a venture for me is what I call an internal startup within the corporate world, right? You have an idea, you need some people, you put these together, they build a business plan, and they go for it. That's my definition of the venture, right? Okay. So how do I find the people? Well, you have those who have ideas, but you also want to complement them. So it's like, you know, in big corporations, as most of you do, you have these key talent. Who hasn't been in one of these meetings where you go through your people and you identify the high potentials and so on and so forth? All of us, right? And I did that. I said, well, that's a bunch of great people, so let's try to find some people there, right? So I did that. I assembled them into a small auditorium, explained my idea of what we wanted to do, and said, yeah, Thierry, yeah, that's an interesting idea. And when I asked them to raise the hand as to who would like to participate, nobody did. Nobody. And you know what? Because in a corporate system, they are great corporate citizens. It's simple. They don't want to risk. They said, Thierry, it's a great idea, but you know, I'm on a path for promotion in 1 year. This is how they see my career. And that you're going to possibly derail my career. So no, I'm not going to do that. So it's really important. My learning was that, you know, these guys, almost by definition, are risk averse. And it makes a lot of sense because in a big corporation, you want to minimize risks. Of course. Because these guys do the normal business as usual. They pay your salaries, basically, right? So there needs to be, you don't hear me say that you don't need to have those, right? You need, but fishing in that pond is a bit of a challenge, right? So, my learning was like, you have to create that culture of risk-taking. I call it a culture, you could call it an environment, whatever you call it, doesn't matter. You have to let people know that if you want to do something, you have to do it. And you learn, right? You learned, and you should allow them to fail. Of course, not too often. If they fail too often, then we have another problem. But you have to learn to fail. What does it mean, learning to fail? What did you learn? Management also should accept failure. It's important, and it comes again from the top. That's why it was in my first slide. It's like it has to be driven from the top down. But what is equally important is that it's not only the top, and I will come back to that a couple of times, and I haven't heard that too much up to now. It's like it's the senior management leaders, but also the middle managers, because they are at the crossroads of all these forces. They hear the top saying, and you have to do this. But they have to tell their people, like, you have to work on my normal business because that's the money makers. We'll come back to that. So you need to create a culture where it's really be having almost like a plus on your resume. Typically, HR on these resume sheets don't have a box like entrepreneur risk-taking. No, because you better not doing that, right? So knowing that your back is covered by management is extremely important, and therefore it has to come from the top all the way down. And in some way, and I call it there, celebrating risk-taking. I wanted to write celebrate failure, but that was maybe a bit over the top, right? But what I mean is like you should celebrate, recognize people who took the risk. And in hopefully a lot of cases it works well, but in some cases it doesn't. And if it doesn't, we celebrate because you learn something, and we should share that learning, which is really important. My other wrong. Don't focus too much on ideas and ideations. You know my view? You have plenty of ideas. That's not the problem. So I'm like, okay, you have all these idea competitions, you have the management platforms of ideas and blah, 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 blah. It's important, don't get me wrong. But in a big corporation, you have plenty of people and you have lots of ideas. What is important is not so much having a lot of ideas, But really what you want is breakthrough ideas. So my learning from that is like, focus and go for breakthrough ideas. You want really great ideas. Because great ideas are ideas that potentially can disrupt other ones' businesses, even your own businesses. And it's not bad, because if you don't do it yourself, others will do it. But you have to identify these ones. So yes, you can have these call for ideas. But I've done that. I tried everything, and then I got even, you know, you have the funniest ideas when you do these competitions. It's really amazing. But I learned that you have to focus. Focus within the purpose and vision of your company, and then you find a spot, an area where there is an interest, right? And where you think something will happen. Because you have visionary people, technology scouting, and etc. So you know that there is like the demand from your customers, and there is like a supply of technologies, right? So you can be pretty specific when it comes to that. So learning, don't be content with small stuff. Doesn't matter. I've had some of these competitions in the beginning. People came with an idea, they assembled a team, they made a business plan, and they went in front of the innovation board, or whatever board you call it, the one with the money in order to start implementing. And I was part of that. And in some cases, it was really interesting, an interesting idea. But it was only like 10 million max. And you know how you can play business plans, right? But 10 million for a 10, 20 billion dollar company, it's peanuts. So it's like, yeah, interesting, but you know, it won't get attention. And actually, you know what? These guys were so pissed off, they left the company. That's the risk of the métier. My other wrong, and we heard some of that. It's, since I couldn't find them in my high potentials, I said, yeah, well, let's go on the other side. So you guys are the high potentials. Let's go to the entrepreneurs in the outside world, right? Let's hire an entrepreneur. And what does an entrepreneur? Well, she has an idea, and she has a blank canvas. She can develop the whole idea, and when she has her business plan, she goes to friends and family or whomever to find the money, and then she wants some people. Where do you go, guys? You go to your network, to your buddies in old companies, other startups, and so on and so forth, and in a hop, she starts developing, designing her product. What does an intrapreneur need to do? You'll say, the same. Yes, the same. But a lot more. Because when my intrapreneur has a good idea, what does she do? She goes to the blackboard and starts drawing and so on and so forth. But then she needs to say, oh my goodness, I'm in the corporation. And we have a process, a stage gate, innovation, whatever, a process, and she has to build presentations, PowerPoints, and so on and so forth. Follow the processes. So my other girl is already down the road, and she is still building and presenting to all the different layers before getting to the one who has the money. But she only has one place to go, the CFO. Even if your general manager says, yes, that's a great idea, he still needs to go to the CFO because it's typically not within his budget parameter. I've had plenty of cases like that. So follow the processes. And then when you finally got the money, you say, I now need to build a team. Jesus, building the team. I have to go to HR. And these guys, they have all these processes. The compensation systems are totally different. I have to go to them and say, no, I want some different, I want more stock options. I want stock options not once a year, like in April for the past year. I want it to do maybe every 4 months or 5 months when my deliverables are due. You know, you do something, you deliver, and boom, you get it. Oh, processes, rules. And then finally, when I got that far, she started to build and so on. And you know what then happened? The corporate immune system got activated. What are these guys doing? Damn! Come on, guys, what are they doing? So you see how difficult it is? Getting an entrepreneur. Would you, as an entrepreneur, go into a corporate system? Not really, yeah? So you see, it's a big difference. So what do we need to do is create an environment where the entrepreneur or intrapreneur can thrive, so that he can go fast in an agile manner, etc. So he needs to be able to shortcut some of the processes, to bend some of the rules, not always, but sometimes, and you need some backup from some managers, from executives, from the top. Right? But we know that it should be a bit contained because not everybody can do that, right? Anyway, so what I'm saying is that in order to do that, you need to have the support of your middle management. Because these guys or girls are the ones in the middle. Because they will be appraised according to the performance of the normal, usual business. And then suddenly you come, and I need these two guys. Yeah, but these are my key guys. No, but I need them because I want to do my venture, blah, 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 blah. But in the meantime, he has to find a solution to replace these two guys. I mean, they are somewhat in the middle, stuck in the middle, and which is really, really difficult. And as well, how to measure the success. The measurement of their normal, regular business is different from measuring the success of what a new business is like. So, I tried with the high potentials, this group, didn't really work. I tried with the entrepreneurs, I was like, hey, come on, way too difficult. And your compensation, see, this is her. So I said, well, maybe I should go on the floor, go to all the workers, the employees, right? And that's what I did. I thought maybe everybody has some entrepreneurial thing in him. Because everybody at the engineering or marketing or sales, whatever, they want to do something. They always want to do or be part of a new initiative. Because they see it as an opportunity to grow. Whilst you guys, you see it as an opportunity to fail. They see it as an opportunity to grow, right? And therefore we should provide the opportunity to be an entrepreneur. But we should be very careful because not everybody has it in his genes, right? Or her genes. It cannot be learned, right? So, because it's also about behavior, your social doing, networking, and all that stuff, right? So what I did is, and I call it an action, I created and organized what I call entrepreneurial boot camps. The best thing you could do is immerse these employees in call it a startup. That would be the best thing, but you can't do it because otherwise you lose them, right? So what we did is we organized a boot camp, and it sounds a bit military, but it is really a bit military, because it's an exercise which people do on top of their normal job. And what do? We have ideas. So they generate ideas. We have plenty of them. We make sure that they generate them in an area which is relevant and are important. We have plenty of people at the working level which want to do that, and once in a while a manager, not too often, at least in the beginning. And we help them to build a business opportunity plan. And I call it not a business plan, but a business opportunity plan. So it's not only the financials, it's all the go-to-market strategy and so on and so forth. And in the way, en cours de route, on the path, they learn and enrich their idea, and they learn. And it's a 2 to 3 month exercise, typically after the hours, during the weekend, because we gave them, and we take some, right? And we did that, and you also inform them about what is important in a startup environment. Intellectual property, how to build a team, how to build the go-to-market plan, and so on and so forth, right? And you create multidisciplinary networks. Because what we did is, you have an idea and we put people from multiple disciplines together. Not only R&D guys, but also sales guys, even financial and HR guys, or girls, right? To build these, and at the end, and we heard the term passion, at the end, after my 3 months with these various teams, they give their pitch, because we learned them also how to pitch. And you need to feel the energy in the room, the passion in the room. Amazing. And there you see the real entrepreneurial behavior floating on the top. Of course, you will have teams that don't bake anything of it, because they don't have it in them. But at least we gave them the opportunity, because we want to be equal to everybody. Okay? So I said, I invite everybody now. But then you come to, hey guys, no. You have to contain somewhat these efforts. Because not everybody you don't want everybody to be an entrepreneur. You need to have the regular folks working on the regular business stuff. You have to keep these people focused. So it's a fine line, because as to whom you do accept and whom you don't accept. Because everybody in entrepreneur is just chaos. So we create a special environment for these entrepreneurial efforts. And I know there are different schools of thought. Basically, you can say, you know what, I create a special environment in my company. You call it an incubation center, an innovation center, whatever it's named, whatever. It's a separate group. Or you do it within the regular business lines. I'm more a fan of the regular business lines. Yeah, there is a third one that's like, you build a team, you spin them out, and then later on you spin them in, right? Okay, but I'm more a fan of the regular business, okay? Because I want to be it visible and transparent, okay? Now, we did both of them, right? We did a special innovation incubation center, venturing center, corporate venturing center, and we did the regular business. Another assumption I took is like, well, you know what? If we do something like that, you better do it, you know, silent, you keep it quiet, you don't involve too many people, because then you can work hard and fast and you're agile and so on and so forth. Because otherwise, if you include others, then they will always have opinions and views, and that hinders you, obstacles, blah, blah, blah. Right? Actually, the problem is that once they have their product, and they get there, then they come to surface. You know, it's like one of these submarines that has an emergency coming on out of the water. They don't come slowly out of the water, right? They come like, boo. And suddenly everyone's like, what the hell is this? What are they doing? And some of them see it as almost as competitors, because it can be disruptive to your own business. And then again, the corporate immune system is activated. So that's why I'm saying don't do it in stealth mode. I learned that. Don't do it. So you do it by liaising with your current business. It's extremely important. So you have to insulate it, but you communicate about it. You make it visible so that people know that there is an effort ongoing. It's extremely, extremely important, right? And therefore, again, middle management is so important. Because if they don't get it, it won't work. Because they have to juggle between some of the regular normal business and some of the folks that are focusing really on that new venture. And how you can do it is by also really talking about it, celebrating a bit about it, right? Even small achievements. It's like, hey guys, we reached our first milestone. Or, hey, here is our deliverable. Talk about it, socialize about it, so that current business knows what you're doing. And of course, if you have your first consumer trial or customer trial of your new product, celebrate it. It's important. Okay? But also, and here I put it, celebrate failure. I thought maybe you now are ready for that terminology. But it's like, what did we learn? Because it's important that others don't make the same mistake, right? I know it's always somewhat different. Anyway, I'm going to stop here by recapping the 7 takeaways that I want you to go home with. Is first, it has to come from the top. If the top doesn't drive it, forget about it. Second, you need to allow risk-taking. Failure should be an option, right? But for good reason. Third, go for breakthrough ideas. This is important. You need great ideas. These are the very important ones. Fourth, you need to create an environment which is somewhat insulated from the rest, where you can bend some rules, etc., processes, etc. Do these boot camps, because typically people don't know exactly what they need to do. We heard that they help, in the previous speaker, was talking about helping them make the pitch. It's the same, but it's even more. It's like how you set up a plan, a business plan, and so on and so forth. But contain your efforts. Don't let it spread all over the place, because regular business is important. And then finally, liaise with your current business and celebrate success. Thank you.